Hello everyone, this is Darryl20 and welcome to episode 67 of Darryl20's FTB Revelations playthrough. Today, it's time to look at Draconic Evolution and progressing through the technical tree that is Draconic Evolution because it'll be fun. We got some really powerful items, some really useful items, just all around some good stuff in Draconic Evolution. Definitely a super powerful mod, arguably overpowered in a lot of ways, but I mean, to be fair, it's the pack we're playing, right? Like, we're playing this in an overpowered fashion. So I'm having fun creating some really powerful stuff. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to mess around with Draconic and get things going. Sound cool? So in order to progress, right, the first thing we had to do when we did this last episode was make the Draconic Fusion crafting core with some crafting injectors. Each crafting injector has a tier. The basic tier is your first one that you can start off with, and you can do some basic crafting with it. So generally speaking, though, the first thing you're going to want to do is get yourself a Wyvern Fusion crafting injector. I don't actually see anything that this can do otherwise. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Because if we take a look at this dude, we'll see that there's probably a few things that we can get with the basic tier, right? So there's a handful of things you can get with basic tier, but generally speaking, you want to get to at least Wyvern as soon as possible. So with that in mind, we're going to just upgrade this thing straight to Wyvern, because anything that you can craft with basic can be crafted with a lower tier, right? So like if you have the Draconic Fusion crafting tier, you can still craft things that require Wyvern or basic. You just can't craft things that require chaotic. And if you get the Chaotic Fusion crafting injector, you can craft all the things, right? So that'll be our goal. By the end of the series, I'd like to have Chaotic Fusion crafting. I don't know if we've ever gotten to Chaotic Fusion crafting, to be fair. Now, some of these recipes, very expensive. For example, the Awakened Core requires 9 million RF. Not a big deal, you might say. However, they require Awakened Draconium ingots, which come from Awakened Draconium blocks, which require 350 million RF to craft. That's more than we currently have in this thing. This thing has 300 million, which you might say is a lot until you realize that it's not. It's not. Luckily, there's some big energy storage capabilities and big energy generation capabilities in Draconic once we get deeper into the mod. So what we're going to have to do is first get this thing upgraded, and that's going to require this stuff. So we're going to want, so we've got a dozen, so let's say 48 diamonds, a dozen Wyvern, a dozen Draconium blocks, which I should probably teach you how to make, right? Not that making Draconium blocks is hard, but, you know, it's cool. Okay, so if we look at Draconic Evolution, first off, diamonds, we're going to want 48, we said, right? There you go. And then Draconic, we're going to want 24 of you, but I think you guys use that, right? So a dozen of these, a dozen of these, and then 24 of you, which is going to put a significant dent in my Draconium and other resources, but it shouldn't be too bad, right? So that's done, along with the diamonds. Nice. Okay, cool. So now we can look at just straight up upgrading these dudes, right? Now we need 2 of you, and then we need 4 of you, so that should be cool. So let's just, what I usually do when I'm upgrading these is do something like this, right? Boop, 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 boop. And then I can remove all these things. And we can do this and hit start. Beautiful. I do love the Draconic crafting appearance, right? The way it looks as it crafts. It makes these cool circles around the items. You can see this thing doesn't quite have enough power flow at the moment, so he's draining quite a bit. Right? So once it gets to that stage, so the first stage is converting the items into energy with huge amounts of energy, and then it's infusing them into the fusion crafting table. And that second stage only takes time, right? The first stage is dependent on how much energy you're feeding into the crafters. The second stage only takes time. And then we should be cool. Nice, output obstructed. Cool. Now the other way we can start this, FYI, for automation purposes, is with a lever. So a pulse there kicks off fusion crafting. So that's neat, right? So that looks cool. Beautiful. So we have to do that 10 more times. Now we can tech accelerate this. See? The tick accelerator, though, doesn't speed up the first part so much. So see how the first part's still taking a while? and it stutters out like the older stuff, only because of the speed at which we're pumping energy into it. Our conduits back there don't have enough. But this part is sped up. Wow, that's kind of annoying, that sound, when it's tick accelerated, isn't it? I'm going to do the rest of these off camera. And we'll be right back. So real quick, let's run some cabling while I'm working on this, because I would like to do automations around this thing, and I think that would be smart to do, right? So let's get an interface. Let's get some kind of crate or chest, and let's figure this thing out, right? So over here, we've got some kind of area where I can tap into, right? I'd like the wiring to not be terrible. If I can avoid terribleness with wiring, that would be great, right? So let's just be prepared here. I'm probably gonna need. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need these things. So let's run this cable. I don't know, like back here-ish. Should be fine. Boop, 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 boop. Run through the line. Boop, boop. Not the end of the world. Cover that back up. There we go. And now I can bring these cablings down here. Cool. And that looks good. So what I'm going to want then is to have some kind of crate down here with an interface hooked up to it, right? So that would be you. Well, maybe move you back one. Right? And what we're going to want is items coming out of this crate on green and items going into here on brown, right? So you're not extracting at all, but you're going to extract on green, always active, right? And then you can be extract on brown, always active. So that when you're done with a craft, you will automatically extract it and put it into the interface. Cool? So that'll be the return signal of this thing. The other thing I wouldn't mind is a timer of some type. Yeah, dark utilities timers should work out pretty well. Am I really that low on redstone torches? I mean, I have been making them in small batches, so that makes sense. Can these guys sit on ceilings? I forget. I always forget. Not really. All right, so what I'll do is pop you here, buddy. That should be reasonable. Yeah, that's fine. And then we want redstone conduiting. So you will be input on red. And you will be output on red. There you go. So what should happen is when you blink, we should hear crafting start. Ta-da! I'm going to make the delay every 10 ticks. So that should mean that when an item is ready to go into here, within half a second, he should start crafting. Right? And that should be cool. So he's going to craft, he's going to finish. The purple crafter will be pulled out into the interface. The redstone trigger on the bottom will start fusion crafting, and then that'll automate, and that'll be pretty good. And then our next steps for when we're ready to actually, like, we're not going to automate these, because once we make a dozen, we're never going to have to make them again. But other things that we might want to automate in the future will go into the interface down there as a crafting step. Boom. So this should be, yep, there we go. And it starts crafting again. Awesome. Back in a minute when it's done. All right, if my calculations are correct, and my calculations being looking at this and seeing that there's only one left, there was only one left there, so we're done. Yay! Hooray! Everybody wins. So now we've got tier 2 fusion crafting, right? So that's the draconic tier of fusion crafting. To upgrade beyond that, we need awakened draconium, which needs a block per upgrade. So we're gonna need 12 blocks to upgrade all our draconic fusion injectors. 4 blocks equals 350, so we're talking a billion RF here. That's a lot of RF. That's a real lot of RF. If you're honestly considering how much RF that is, that's a lot of RF. A billion RF, huh? Whew, that's exciting. Now, the other thing we might want to look at doing, one of the first things we'll probably want to, okay, I get it, purple, I get it, is look at energy storage core. Draconic's energy storage system is pretty fun to build, is pretty impressive looking visually, and is pretty powerful in terms of the amount of RF it can store. So basically there's 8 tiers of the thing. Tier 1 stores 45 million, Tier 2, 273. Tier 3 is where we break beyond the threshold that we currently have. We're currently at 300 million stored. Tier 3 allows you to store 1.6 billion, and then 9.8, 59, 356, and 2.14 trillion RF in Tier 7. Now, Tier 8 is a thing. Tier 8 is a stupid number that you're never going to reach, unless you just want to spend a stupid amount of time trying to fill that thing with as many dupes as you can. But it's basically infinite. It's max int, so it's huge. This is the link to a big number. I'm not even gonna, it's just dumb. If you want to build a tier 8 orb, go for it. I never waste the time building a tier 8 orb because the energy costs are downright absurd. And the resource costs are downright absurd. Like it's just absurd costs for something that you will never need to fill. Even tier 7 is just a huge amount, right? So I know that there are people in the comments who are going to say, Dyer, make a tier 8 and fill it. No. Okay? No, I'm just not going to do it. Sorry. I just can't. It just wouldn't be fun. So I'm not going to do it. Because I always get that. Whenever I get into Draconic, there's an infinite number of people who are like, Dyer, you should make a tier 8 orb and see if you can fill it. No. Sorry. But we're gonna make probably a tier 7. And you'll see with tier 7 how absurdly difficult that is to actually fill. That we probably won't ever need a tier 8. So we need energy core stabilizers, we need some things, energy pylons are cool. Here's the energy core setup, right? These are the resources that you need to craft the different tiers, right? So if I wanted to make a tier 7, we would need 210 draconium blocks and 328 redstone blocks. Not terrible. Tier 8, you need 786 draconium blocks and 378 awakened draconium blocks. Keeping in mind that 4 of those cost 1/3 of a billion RF to craft. Okay, so a dozen is a billion RF. So let's say 360, right? So that's 300 billion RF in order to craft the away. Am I doing the math right on that? It's actually more. It's a little bit more. Probably close to 400, right? So let's just say 400 billion RF. To craft the awakened draconium blocks that we need. Just to craft them. And then filling it is just nonsense. So, sorry, but not sorry, I'm not going to do it. Now, do we have enough draconium? 210 draconium blocks. Do we have enough draconium for 210 draconium blocks? We're actually short only a little bit. So here's my next question. When you run, do you produce draconium? That I don't know the answer to. I'm assuming the answer is I don't know. I actually don't have a good answer. I don't have an answer to, does this produce draconium? Because we have a decent amount of draconium dust if you actually look at it. I'm assuming this guy produces draconium. That should probably be producing draconium, I would think. I'm assuming the first one doesn't, right? The astral one does not. The actual RF Tools miner is probably producing it. But draconium's like a small amount of things that we don't usually get a lot of. So I'm thinking maybe RF Tools dimension for draconium? Does that sound fun? Sounds fun, right? So traditionally the best places to find draconium are actually in the end. So like, why don't we pop over to the end and just see if we can find like a good draconium comet. And what I wouldn't mind is having, actually, you know what? Maybe if we can get a Silk Touch dude going on, that wouldn't be bad. Like a quick and dirty Silk Touch tool would be nice. So Silk Touch is what? Slime Ball? I can do this. Right? And then get me a book. That's fine. You do the thing. Boop, boop, boop. 13 levels. And I'll tell you why I want Silk Touch. I'm planning ahead for where I want to do, right? So maybe I should just get another Flux Spore. I could probably pull that off, yes. Most of the resources here are auto-crafting, so... Okay, So that would be one of these and one of these. And that should get me the basic flux bore. Cool. And now for you, I just need an Invar drill. I need an Invar gear. Oh. And then I'm going to need an Electrum gear. And a Signalum gear. And Enderium. And we have enough Enderium. Cool. So there's that. And then there's this. Man, I was so close to having enough Electrum. So close. So close. And then Signalum gear. And that needs Petrothium dust. That shouldn't be too bad, right? Yeah, it seems reasonable. He's crafting. And we're crafting. So just having a flux bore with silk touches just seems like a good idea to me. And I knew it wouldn't be too bad to make, right? Oh, I need Lumium too. I forgot about the Lumium requirement. Do we have enough Lumium for this? Nope. They're not too bad to make though, as I recall. It should be quick too, because I think Lumium's in the faster one now. Nice. So that, and then I'll probably also want to throw efficiency 5 on it, right? So that would be redstone. And more lapis. Okay. And then another book. And you're going to require 33 experience, which I should have. So now I'm going to have a nice flux bore, and I'm on board with that, right? I think that's cool. So then you combined with efficiency is 5. Let me combine you with silk first, just because I look like I'm actually low on experience. I do, right? So silk touch, boom. And efficiency 6 now is what I need for you. Cool. So now I have a silk touch instead of a fortune resonant flux bore. How cool was that? Easy to do, right? All right, put away a bunch of junk that we don't need at this exact moment. Boop, 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 boop. Put you in here along with you. You can teleport me over to the end portal dimension. And let's see if we can have any luck flying around the end looking for a Draconic meteor, right? So what we're looking for is basically a giant meteorite flying through the end that has a lot of Draconium in it. That's where you'll get a majority of your Draconium. And then what we're going to do is create an RF Tools dimension using the Silk Touched stuff, right? This is one I've equipped, is Silk Touch, right? We're going to use that to get ourselves a whole bunch more Draconium. So we can set up a pretty OP RF Tools dimension. That'll be a fun segue into RF Tools dimensions. And that's one of the things I like about Draconic Evolution. Draconic ore is super rare, so as a result, like the best way to wind up going about it is getting an RF Tools dimension full of Draconic ore. And doing that is really costly in terms of RF and gets me into a whole new mod. So it's like, hey, now I get to play with Draconic and RF Tools, and it's like a reason to actually make an RF Tools dimension, right? Like if you want to just make one for fun, sure. But like I sometimes like having reasons for doing things, right? So being able to say like, hey, I have a reason to do this now is cool. So I'm going to fly around the end here and see if I can't find the meteor I'm looking for, and then we'll be back. So this is actually one of them. Unfortunately, it seems to have spawned inside of an existing world gen structure, but that's okay. But you can see the tail of the comet, right? And then I can get this cool stuff going on, right? Yeah. And what I want is to get lots of Ender Draconium ore. And the reason I want to get lots of Ender Draconium ore... Hey, Enderman, what's up? Yeah, I see. You're not happy that I'm here. Too bad. Beat it. I'm going to fly and you can't do anything about it. And if you come at me, bro, just know that I've got a really powerful sword that's all about making you not being able to teleport. Okay? Not here to start any fights. Just here to get some Enderium. I forget how much I need to absorb. I think it's around 100. Right? So we're, you know, making progress. Hello, lights. Look, buddy, I warned you. Don't come at me. Alright, I'm just here minding my own business. Alright, really? Okay, let's go. Bring it. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. So not the greatest, but I mean it gets the job done. We should be able to drill into this thing pretty quickly and clear it out. So this is the end. It's a pretty small comet, this one. There's different size ones that you'll find in World Gen. This one's relatively small. And the fact that it's inside of a, you know, another, like, island kind of stinks. But the good news is we should get some of our draconium from it. Okay, back in a few once I've mined this thing out and gotten a healthy amount of draconium. Alright, mostly cleared it out. I already put away some of my draconic stuff. But we should see some draconic enderium ore in there, which looks cool. I'm going to call that as enough. 244, I think that should be plenty to make what I need to make. Cool. Hey guys, guess which mod pack doesn't have RF Tools Dimensions in it? Guess which mod pack does now? So I added RF Tools Dimensions to the mod pack, so those of you following along with that, take note, and I will also update my mod pack list that's on my world download page to include that note. I better do that sooner than later, because I know I'm going to forget. But long story short, we now have RF Tools Dimensions available to us, which is cool. I'm curious if that means that Woot's going to be producing dimlets now. Is that a thing that might happen? It's not on the list of things that it'll produce, right? Because you can get dimlets from killing Endermen. Isn't that true? Isn't that where dimlets come from, typically speaking? Dimlets. Dimlet parcels. You can get them from dungeon chests, and that's about all she wrote. Okay. I thought you could get them from Enderman drops, but I guess not. But I guess that's fine, because I would have been annoyed if we've been killing Endermen this whole time, and we could have been getting dimlets and not. That would have been annoying to me. By the way, at 49 Chironite crystals. 49 Chironite crystals. And climbing. Alright, so with that said, we now have RF Tools Dimensions. So I guess the only way to really get dimlets in that case would be through exploration of a randomly generated dimension, right? I guess that's true-ish. True-ish. So what we're going to want is the following. We're going to want an empty dimensions tab. Boom. We're going to want a dimensional inscriber for sure. We need a few of these. Right? So a dimensional inscriber is going to be a thing we need. A dimension builder is going to be a thing we need. A dimlet workbench will be a thing we need. But before we get that, we have to go to a dimlet. An activity probe might be cool to have at some point. And then these guys we'll also have to get into at some point. But we'll take care of them in a minute. Priority 1 is getting the dimlet stuff going on. And I'm going to see, like, without dimlets to automatically open, that actually might be harder than it sounds. But let's see. So we're going to want a dimension builder. And we probably want a crate to store all our dimensions. And then we're going to want a dimensional inscriber. Yeah, that sounds cool. So let's pop this in here. And we're going to call it... what do we want to call it? Exploration. Store. Cool. So the way RF Tools Dimensions works is you can make your own custom dimensions, which I always find to be fun. Which is why, you know, even more so, it's just neat being able to make your own dimensions with a whole bunch of all kinds of attributes, right? Which is neat. So the thing is, the dimensions cost energy, all right, to run. So it basically is a dimension self-contained within this dimension tab, and it requires RF energy to run. So while the dimension is active, it's draining energy, right? And you can even see on this little thing here, we're losing RF inside here because the dimension is actually active at this moment. So we're losing RF inside the realized dimension tab that exists here in my inventory. So in order for this dimension to stay stable, it needs to have energy. If it runs out of energy at any point, it will become unstable. And if you're in the dimension when it becomes unstable and collapses due to lack of energy, you're going to have a bad time. So your goal is to keep these things powered at all times. Now you can put activity probes in there, that's the block we looked at a minute ago, which will make the dimension not cost energy if no one's in it, which is nice, right? So any dimension that we actually care about, I'm gonna do. Now the maintenance cost is how much energy it costs to do the thing with the energy, or it's the RF cost for the dimension to keep running, right? And as we start creating custom dimensions, that maintenance cost will go up exponentially to the point where it's going to cost, tens of thousands, if not more, RF a tick just to keep a dimension running. Things like Draconic ore will absolutely cause that, okay? So let's go ahead and check out this dimension. So what we're going to need is a matter transmitter, which I don't think I've ever made, have I? I don't think I have. So we're going to need a matter transmitter. We have one now. And a dialing device, right? Yeah, buddy. Okay, and you guys are gonna go right here. And I'm gonna go switch back to my efficiency guy and put my silk touch away before I forget. Okay, so you're gonna chill there. You're gonna chill there. These guys both need power. So let's do extra utilities power here for these guys, because they don't need a huge amount. They only need a tiny little bit. Dirt. Where would dirt be? You'd think dirt would be easy to find. There it is. Hooray. So you're getting a little bit more power now. Home base dimensional transmitter. So the matter transmitters can teleport you to receivers using the dialing device. So the dialing device says, hey, take that transmitter, which is up top, and teleport to wherever. So when you create an RF Tools dimension, it creates a matter receiver in that dimension to be the receptacle for your player to teleport to. So I can dial up that dimension right here, and then we're good to go. Now the other thing I'm going to do is bring wireless doohickey to that dimension with me so that I can power the receiver on the other side. Not enough power to start teleport. Really? Not quite yet? I mean, you'll get there, right, buddy? I mean, it's enough power, it's just taking a while to get filled up, right? Once it's filled up, we should be fine. How much power do you need to teleport to another dimension? I don't even know. Is it 100K? That's it. It's 100K. All right, so now we should be good. So the infrequency power failure during transit. Ow. I guess we didn't have enough power. Whoops. Be careful with power. Be careful with it. It's easy to not have enough of sometimes. There you go. All fixed. Back to life. All right. Maybe you should have some kind of flux dude. I mean, you really don't need it. You really don't. I'm honest, you don't need it. It's just I was impatient. It should be fine. But yeah, why not? Let's go now. It used less than 100K. I don't know why that power fail during transmit thing happened. It totally used less than 100K, right? So now the dimension is being built around me, and let's see what kind of dimension we got. All right, so it's nighttime. Some kind of tropical forest biome. Sweet. Always make sure you have a way back, by the way. Otherwise, you can totally get stuck in this dimension. Like, that's absolutely a thing that can happen, just as an FYI. Also, your boop matter receiver here needs to maintain power. So nothing crazy in this dimension, at least. Right? Let's get away from this. Well, here's the thing. I actually don't have enough power to fly anymore. I've actually just surpassed my Angel Ring's power cost. Haha. Okay. That's a thing. We should do something about that. We need more mills of some kind. What kind of mills do we got here? Because there's lava, operates when adjacent to lava, power given 4 GP. This is 4 GP per side, right? 4 GP for fire when placed over fire, when placed adjacent to lava. Now, what point do you... 200 to 400 is when we start getting low, right? So how many of these can I get? 3? But I can get more stone burnt, right? Because I need just polished stone. And you just need stone bricks, right? Meh, it should be enough for now. Oh, it's polished and a site. That's not what I want. That's what I want. Ha. Bricks. I was gonna say, it's weird to me that... Do what now? There you go. Now you're behaving a little bit better. So you... And this is totally cheesing this mod, but, you know, it's me. It's what I do sometimes. Okay, so that's lava mills, right? Power given 4 GP when adjacent to lava. So that shouldn't be too hard to set up, right? Should be cool. $12 sounds good to me. I like that number. It's rare that I get into any more mills. Usually what happens is I just get to the point where it's like, all right, I've got... That's not what I wanted, but okay. So you're gonna go here. Okay, and then boop, boop, boop. That seems reasonable. Pretty close to reasonable, at least. Yeah, decent checkerboardish pattern. Now are we for a lava reserve here? Unuse, fill, empty. Technically, some of these source blocks aren't necessary, but it just looks a little better, right? Oh, out of lava. I should maybe, like, upgrade this dude. Would that be a crazy thing to do? Probably. Not a huge deal, though. Yeah, that's reasonable, right? Now they're all generating 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Didn't it say 4? It's not flowing lava, is it? Generating 2. Generating 2. Generating 2. Didn't it say 4? I thought it said 4 on the tooltip. Power given 4. I don't even know. Whatever. I can fly, I'm happy. Let's teleport back to that dimension and see if there's anything cool. Now, generally speaking, you want to find a good dimension. Because the way to progress in RFTools dimension is you have to find dimlit parcels, which you'll find in the dimensions that you generate. Right, so it's kind of like you have to explore the dimensions that you're generating. So this is not an eternal night world, so that's kind of cool. It's not a single biome type world either. This world seems pretty generic, to be fair. Nothing too crazy going on. But if we look around, we should find... Is that a Twilight Forest dimension? I believe it is a Twilight Forest biome, isn't it? Yeah, it's the Fire Swamp. Cool. Okay, well that's cool. So in here, we'll find dimlets that we can use to customize dimensions going forward, along with dimlet parts that are also useful, right? So what I'm going to want to do, basically, is get a bunch of these and put them into our AE system. Cool. So flying around and finding those things would be cool. What kind of biome is this? White beach. That's interesting. Right? So just find these houses, you know, drop into them. There's 3 dimlets on here, and then there's usually pieces of stuff in here. Cool. I'm going to go do that for a few minutes, and we'll be back. So not a huge number of those dimensional buildings in this dimension. I mean, they're generally not rare in general, but I've seen some dimensions where they're more common than this, it feels like. You know, it's not terrible. Let's see what we've gotten so far. I've only spent a few minutes here because this is already boring me and I want to find a way to automate it. And I can't think that there is one. The only thing maybe might be that flower from Britannia that generates dungeon loot. That's like the only thing I can think of. But that thing generally needs a lot of Britannia magic energy. So that might be hard to pull off. And I think there's like caveats to it now. Right? So what do we get here? We got some rarity 0 stuff, some low rarity components. But I'm pretty sure... yeah, there's some things here, right? Material dimlets, prismarine jelly bean, that's cool. Cinnabar ore, that's kind of cool. If we want more cinnabar. Sky colors and details. Chaotic features, huh? Nearlands, amplified, rough. Scattered orbs, that's cool. Move speed 3 effect, neat. So we've gotten some cool dimlets so far. Now, what I want to do is make the dimlet workbench now, which shouldn't be a problem. And I forget if this needs power or not. It does, actually. Are you getting power? You are, actually. Yay. Cool. We'll see if that's enough. So dimlet workbenches let you take apart dimlets and put them back together in different ways. And the cool thing about this is we probably want to infuse this guy, right? Because if we get a dimlet, for example, cobblestone bricks encased, right? And I put this in here, it'll show me that when I hit extract here, if on, dimlets will be reconstructed into parts. If I click that, he thinks for a few seconds, and then he'll spit out some of the component parts of the dimlet. So each dimlet is made up of 5 component parts. And the rarity of the dimlet, or the more powerful dimlets, for example, require more rare components. Now, with the dimlet workbench not being infused, we don't necessarily get all the components out. I think we got like 3 of them that time, right? So let's get an infusing machine from RF Tools. There is some kind of infuser. Isn't it called infuser? What's it called? Spawner, liquid monitor, pearl injector. It's been a while since we've done energetic stuff, isn't it? I don't think it's booster. That has to do with the teleporting stuff. Where is it? Modular storage, matter transmitter, dialing device, matter booster, remote storage, screen controller, machine infuser. That's what I was looking for. Cool. Machine infuser. I knew that it existed somewhere. I'm going to pop you over here. Are you? No, you're not green yet. Okay, fair enough. Boop. So you get infused using dimensional shards, of which we don't have a lot, actually. We have a little bit of dimensional shard ore, but not as much as I thought we would have. Why do we have so little of that? I don't know. What can I do with you to process you? You can be sag milled into a healthy amount. Okay. So what's the best sag mill component? Because we have a sag mill up here, don't we? Yes. He's a little bit slow, but we could totally get an octadick to improve him. What's the best sag mill component that we can get? Because if we can get like the best sag milling thing for this, that would probably be smart, right? The highest chance of getting bonus things would be cool. So sag, are they called balls? Yeah, they are. Okay. So main output 160, 175, 100, 135, 100, 135, 120, 140, 100, 120, 165 is Enderium. That's pretty good. Is anything better than 165? I don't think. 175 for Vibrant. So is Vibrant just all around the best? So Vibrant's bonus output is 135. Is anybody better than 135? Eh, he's a little bit better. Ooh. Pulsating Iron has a much bigger bonus output. I'm not sure what the math on all that is. Ooh, 200% for Darksteel. So what is the bonus outputs for you? I'm guessing it's this. A 50% modified. So, like, you're going to happen. You have a 50% chance. And then you have a 15% chance. So I'm going to say the bonus outputs is probably what we want most, right? And that would be Solarium so far. End steel is 240. End steel seems pretty good. Alright, let's get an end steel ball. That shouldn't be too hard to make, especially with our sped up processes these days, right? Because everything's faster. Yeah, a little bit faster. All right, so enough to get one set of balls at least. So if I take you out, can I clear this somehow? Like you, this will clear all stored info. So let's at least take the octadic capacitor out of there. So that clears that. And then we can throw these guys in there, and that should eat one. Not bad. Doing pretty good, really. Not bad at all. All I want is lots of these dimensional shard ores. Oops, didn't want to do that. Give me all the dimensional shard ore. Yeah, that works for me. Now, I believe it's 4 stacks that we need to max out a machine. So I'm going to do this, and then he will start feeding in. And he should be at 25% when he's done eating a stack. So if you want a fully upgraded RF Tools machine, and infusing them with dimensional shard ore just makes them all around better. Usually faster or less energy use or something like that. There you go, 100%. Do I have less than a stack somewhere? I don't know. But now you're cool. Right, so now if we look at dimensional shard stuff, and we set acacia wood, for example, and we extract that. See how we got 5 components this time? That's better, right? Instead of just 3. So if you're going to mess with dimlets, definitely infuse your dimlet workbench. All right, so totally wrapping up point for the episode, the foundation of dimlet stuff. I'm going to look into see if I can find a good way to cheese a few more of these things outside of, you know... Yeah, I don't like the chests thing. I mean, it'll work. It'll just take a long time, and it'll be very manual. And I hate that. I hate manual. I hate long. You know, like, dimlet parcels you used to get if you killed Enderman, I thought. Right? Isn't that true? Right? Now, we have a couple because I found them in the things. When you right-click them, you get random components based on the rarity of it, right? We happen to get an advanced energy module, so that's kind of cool, at least. But we're going to need some expensive components if we want to make a Draconium ore dimension. I think it needs to be like tier 5 or 6, which is pretty expensive. We'll figure that out next time, though. Darryl20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.